Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Unplugged Woodworking's podcast. So I'm very late this week. I'm actually I'm actually recording this Sunday morning. It's very late for me, so it's going to be a little bit. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit later. This gets published. It'll be in the afternoon, obviously, but I totally forgot about doing it, which is very unusual. So. The last podcast I got quite a lot of feedback. I had people messaging us, people leaving comments. It was quite nice. It was quite cool. There was a few individuals that basically took the time to message us, and like I don't mean a couple of words. I mean they took the time to write paragraphs. Particularly Pippi Oak, who I follow on Instagram, Paul, the caller guy. If you're listening, Paul, thanks very much. I really appreciate you taking the time to message us. So Paul actually took the time to have a good think about me conundrum, as it were, type of thing. As did a few people. There was quite a few people that. Had the same consensus. So basically the consensus is basically use power tools or machines as and when I need them. Which to be honest, pretty much what Paul was saying, get like a couple of machines or a couple of tools that I really need. Basically, I can't quite remember, but I think Paul recommended maybe like a table saw and a planer, I believe. He was quite right what he was saying. As a lot of people were. There was quite a funny comment on YouTube. I can't remember the name of the guy, but he basically said use power tools. Now and again, it's okay, which I thought was quite funny. So I just kind of wanted to say that I think sometimes I come across as a bit of a purist, and I'm really not. I'm not against power tools or machines. What I didn't mention and what I probably should have mentioned is some of the constraints that I've got. Obviously, I'm a back garden woodworker or a backyard woodworker if you're in America. I've got a shed in my back garden, and that's where I work. I've got no desire at all to go and buy a unit somewhere. Not buy a unit, to rent a unit. I wouldn't have the money to do that at this present time, even if I wanted to. So I've got the neighbours to consider with noise. Obviously, I cannot have a table saw going all day long, or multiple tools going all day long. Obviously, I've got space. Space is an issue. Although me garden I'm quite lucky. My garden is like a really big garden. For the area I live, it's really big. So I possibly could and probably will in some time, build a new shed/workshop sort of thing. But I think those two are my main constraints, and I didn't mention those. So this week I started building, and I've just about finished off like a basic step up. This isn't for me. This is for a friend. So it's not a very big step up. It's kind of I think it's like 200 millimeters. It's just to give you that little bit extra, just to get you off the floor. It's constructed with dovetails, and I put a back railing, which is like a half dovetail lap joints, just to keep just to give it that little bit extra strength. You'd probably get away without it, but adding that extra rails, I feel, is just going to prolong the longevity of the step up. So I have actually been doing a video on this. I was writing an article as well. I probably have the two of them published maybe tomorrow for anyone that's interested. It's not a great project per se to build, but I thought it was quite good for the fact if you were wanting to practice dovetails, in a lap joint sort of thing. It kind of maybe more for like beginners or someone that's like trying to practice the dovetails type of thing. Since I'm like messing around with SketchUp, I'm starting to pick it up quite well now. I am going to do some plans. There's just going to be JPEG on the blog itself. So you're going to be able to look at the pictures. On your phone. It's going to have all the dimensions there. Should you choose to build it, So that's as I said, that should be ready sometime Monday. The video as well. It's like I say, it's just going to be a cheap and cheerful video, which most of mine are. So today I'm actually going to start building the Roman workbench. I'm doing a video on it. I'm going to do plans. They're going to be available for purchase if anyone wants to do it. I'm actually going to be adding a shave horse attachment to it. I think this time, with the bench being a little bit wider, plus with me wanting to explore the other styles of shave horses, this is actually going to be one that's going to go all the way through the Roman workbench, through the centre of the Roman workbench, and actually wedged underneath. Obviously, that's going to be removable. So I'm quite eager to test that style of shave horse out, because I've never actually used one. I believe it's better. Obviously, I haven't tried it yet, so I can't really comment on that. But obviously, people who are following, people who I respect, woodworking wise, who do use shave horses, they kind of big these designs up. So it's simple enough, but obviously I'm going to be doing that. So I think that's going to be a separate build video. So obviously with the plans, the Roman workbench plans, obviously they're going to contain the shave horse plans. So if you're interested, keep an eye out for that. That's going to be coming in the next week or two. So today, just to follow up on the last podcast, today is going to be like the pleasant things that I like about working with hand tools. So the most obvious one for me, and plus the fact that I'm going to be able to do it today, because obviously the weather's quite fine here. Surprisingly for this time of year, it has been the last couple of days. So the last couple of days I've actually been able to work outside. That's the big thing for me with hand tools, and it probably always will be for me to be able to work outside. I've worked outside all of my life from like from the age of like 16, 17 up until like present day. I'm so used to being outside. There was one time I done 2 weeks in a factory work wise, and I absolutely hated it. I couldn't stand it. I felt like a caged animal. So that might be something to do with it. I just like to be outdoors, even if it's a little bit cold. I still like to be outdoors, as long as it's not raining and blowing a hooligan like. But I think this was kind of made more available because of the Roman workbench. Obviously, if I hadn't discovered it, I probably would have still been working out of a shed. Maybe I don't know. I can't say how I wouldn't have discovered it, because obviously I think subconsciously I was kind of looking for a way to get outside, to like not to be in a shed, even though obviously with a shed you're all kind of outside. The door was always open and stuff, but that's a biggie for me. Just to be able to have it, basically be able to have like me tools and me workbench outside. I mean, obviously you can take certain things outside, power tools and stuff. Yeah, you can do that, but I mean, another good thing about the setup that I'm using at the moment, it's just such a simple setup. I mean, I could literally, I've only got a small car, but I could literally hire a bench into the back of the car and hire a toolbox in, and I could literally travel anywhere where my car could go and build just about anything I wanted to build. Like, that's how, what's the word I'm looking for here? I can't think of a word, but that's how good it is for me. Yeah, obviously it is going to take us longer to build things. Obviously, we did discuss this on the last podcast. Obviously, yeah, hand tools are a bit slower, but you kind of beat on. If I'm being honest, it would take me literally 10 minutes, if that's like 5 minutes, to pack my car up with everything and actually be driving away. That's how good it is. I think, so in that respect, I think it's absolutely awesome. So next is the cost to make a full shop, or to have a shop where you can basically build anything. So take, for instance, a dining table, we'll say. So there's going to be a lot of people listening to this that can relate to what I'm saying here. So as what I will say before I say what I'm going to say is that, yeah, there's always going to be the argument that once you've got the tools, you're going to have them for a very long time, and you're going to be able to, do this again and again and again. And yeah, that's a totally valid point, and I couldn't, and I wouldn't argue with that point. But I'm still going to push it that if I was going to build a dining table, what are the machines I would need? So obviously you're going to need let's just say a planer. You're going to need a thicknesser. You are going to need some type of table saw or track saw, something like that. Obviously you've got your drills. You've got possibly bandsaw to shape the legs, possibly. The list goes on. It really just depends how you're going to construct it. Are you going to use mortise and tenon joints? You're going to need a mortise machine. Are you going to be putting profiles on this? You're going to need a router. So already, you kind of like, you're already probably past, depending on what tools you go for, but you could be into the thousands already. You could literally have it like at £1,000 if you're going to go out and buy cheapo tools, or you could be into thousands if you're going to be going out and buying stuff like Fest tools. Now, I'll be honest, I've never actually used the Fest tool, power tool, but from what I understand, they're supposed to be quite good. As I said, I haven't used them, so I can't comment on them. But that's kind of, for me, that's a good one. I mean, if you were so lucky, and I believe you would have to be lucky, but you could actually go down to a flea market or a car boot sale, depending on, there's lots of things it would depend on. But as I said, if you were lucky, you could actually walk away from that tool market with a full kit for, or maybe what, depending, it could be anywhere from £20 to £50, for a full kit. And that full kit, once you've learned to use it, will allow you to build like a dining table and whatever else you're going to use. So in that respect, I quite like it, and that's going to be good for people that like can't go out and pay thousands of pounds for Fest tools, or they can't go out and pay £1,000. There's, in this day and age, there's a lot of people that just can't afford to go out and pay that sort of money, which is a bit of a shame, because I believe if you want to go out and like buy those tools, you should be able to. You shouldn't have any restraints, but obviously people have got bills and mortgages to pay, so not everyone can do that, unfortunately. I'm going to talk about mistakes next. So anybody that follows us on Instagram or listens to us will probably know I make mistakes daily. I'm absolutely terrible for mistakes. That's kind of a running joke with myself at the moment. Like, it's like I make that many mistakes. I'm actually so good at fixing me mistakes. I'm a master at fixing my own mistakes. So I feel, and I think this is fact as well. I'm sure there's a lot of people that can relate to this as well. If you make a mistake with hand tools, it ain't the end of the world. There's a lot you can do. If you make a mistake on a machine, it can spell it can cause a lot of problems and a lot of headaches. Typically, when you're using a machine, let's just give a really simple one. I don't think it's probably going to be a common mistake, but let's just say, for argument's sake, you're following plans. I don't know, just say we're doing something that contains a lot of mortise and tenon joints. So there's going to be a lot of rails. So these rails want to be, let's say for argument's sake, they want to be 75 millimeters. And for some reason we set the rip fence at let's say 70 millimeters. For some unbeknown reason, maybe we weren't concentrating, we had things on my mind, whatever, and we ripped, let's say for argument's sake, we ripped 20 rails at 75 millimeters, and for whatever reason these had to be at 75 millimeters. So the difference with the two of them, and obviously I've done this, I've started ripping material. It's whatever. We'll keep in with the example. Say 70 millimeters, and then I might have done 1, 2, 3, whatever, and I've clicked on, oh crap, these need to be 75. So because it's taken us so much time to rip them, which is a good thing and a bad thing. This is obviously I'm explaining the good part of it at the moment. I'm not going to do the full 20 if you're with us. Whereas if you're doing it on a table, so how quick? Don't get us wrong, it's absolutely awesome to haul material through and get it done in minutes. I can't fault that, but if you make a mistake in the sizes, it's going to take you minutes to haul 20 to rip like 20 of those rails, and then you've got 20 rails at the wrong thickness. So obviously this goes all the way through with machines. I think it does happen probably more than people like to admit, that they do set the machines up wrong, whether it's just a lack of concentration or whatever. It's the same with dovetails. I mean, you can get some decent results using the Dovetailing Jig, but same again, if you set the jig up wrong, you're going to get, you're not going to get good results. I think I talked about this maybe in the last podcast. I've seen stuff from I think it's Oakland Furniture. I think that's the name of them. And the dovetails have been filled up, with some sort of resin and sawdust probably. And for me, I personally would be very upset if I was paying whatever the money is. It's like £400 for this unit or whatever it is. I'd be upset if I paid for that and I had filler in my dovetails. That's just me, Probably a lot of people don't even realise it when they buy it. That they're not interested in the dovetails and that. But me personally, I would be upset about it. So this is kind of an ongoing thing. Obviously, I think with the machines, it tends to be more just setting them up wrong, which I've I've just said is I think it's an easy thing to do. I've done it myself when I was using machines on a regular basis. It's so easy to do it. Another example would be if you were going to be using a mortise machine, same again, just not setting the mortise up right. Perhaps you had a slightly different thickness of a piece you were to mortise. Whatever might have happened, you might have a little bit snipe off the thickness planer that you didn't really notice, sort of thing. If you were just like putting the pieces through, and because of that snipe at the end, it might have, when you weren't paying attention, it might have, there might be some misalignment with the mortise, and by the time you put everything together, because of the misalignment of the mortise, the tenon's not going to fit properly if it's multiple layer mortise and tenon joints. You kind of get the picture. But snipe's quite a common thing, and it's actually quite easy just to overlook things like this. It's just, don't get us wrong, it's the same when you're using a hand tools. It is obviously easy to overlook things. So that's, obviously you could go on all day, but I think pretty much is what it boils down to, is pretty much human error, and we're all humans, and we're all going to make errors. It's just in our nature to do it. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of good things come out of errors, a lot of inventions and whatnot. So yeah. Next, I've got to say accuracy. For me personally, and I think I've said this a few times, that my woodworking it went up tenfold when I started using hand tools, like pretty much exclusively, or started like doing more of my joints. I can't quite remember how I transitioned. I can't quite remember if I just like stopped. What I do know, it was quite quick. Stopping. But I can't remember if I like kind of started cutting me joints by hand and I was using machines, or if I just like stopped altogether. I just remember it being very, very quick, and I remember just everything being in my way, all the machines and power tools I had just being in my way, sort of thing. I remember that. But as I said, with the accuracy, it was very, very, very noticeable for me. Obviously, the joints, I've actually done dovetails on a table saw. I think there was some jig that got posted in. It might have been Fine Woodwork and something like that. I was actually getting a subscription a lot of years ago now. There was an ex-girlfriend of mine who actually, I think she bought us like a subscription for like a year. That was like a Christmas present or something like that. But there was this dovetailing jig, and I made this dovetailing jig. And to be honest, I did actually get pretty decent results making dovetails on a table. So I've actually still got the drawers somewhere. I might actually take a picture. It'd be interesting to compare them between like hand cut dovetails and table saw dovetails. But I will say that the accuracy, just for me, it was just unbeatable. And still even now, I think that was something that that Paul actually mentioned, Pippi Oak. He mentioned, that kind of just prepare your stock by machine, get it ripped, maybe cross cuts, planed up, thicknessed, and then just do all the joinery by hand, which I don't think I'll ever change now. I think if I changed, it would have to be because I physically couldn't do it, which I cannot see, happening. Hopefully, obviously I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I I can't see myself being in that sort of situation. So I think actually what Paul recommended is going to be good for a lot of people, and probably myself included. You know, I dare say sometime in the future I might end up doing something like that. Obviously, it does make good sense what he said. You know, like obviously just prepare the stock and then do all the joinery by hand. I also think that, you know, even just some of the, you know, some of the stuff that should be accurate wasn't accurate for me personally. When I was using a table saw, this table saw was a Makita. It was, I don't know if you could class it as a side saw. It was kind of maybe I can't remember the model of it. I haven't got the saw. I gave a lot of my power tools away because I just wasn't using them, and they were in the way, and I was doing me head in. I wanted them out of the way basically. So this was kind of maybe a cross between like a home saw and a side saw kind of thing. Is how I would describe it. But you know, it wasn't, for me, it wasn't very accurate. I constantly had to set the blade to cut square. You know, there was a lot of times when I was you know, cutting cutting maybe boards, and I wanted a 90-degree edge, and I wasn't getting a 90-degree edge. This was also, it could also be troublesome sometimes with the sleds. You know, obviously when you're using a table saw, you know, you do make sleds. So the sleds were okay what I was making. You know, they weren't great, but you know, most of the time they would be okay. But I think sometimes, I don't actually think it was more the sled. I think it was just more issues with the movement in the saw. The circular saw blade basically, and that used to do my head in. Before I actually bought the Makita, I actually made a table saw. I think at the time I was like watching John Hines and is it Matthias Wandel? I can't quite remember the guy's name. He's a YouTuber. He's a very intelligent, clever guy. The two of them are very clever guys. You know, building their own machines, building their own band saws and table saws. So at the time I was kind of into them too. So I made my own table saw, and it was nothing special. And I'm not trying to blow my own trumpet, but I personally felt that table saw was more accurate than the Makita. Ironically, I got rid of that saw because it was big and bulky. To actually get a Makita. Ironically, and it was, I'm not just saying it, the one I built was actually more accurate. You know, how's that for irony? And I think, I can't remember how much I paid. Was it like about £400-500 I paid for this, you know, this Makita saw? And you know, looking back on it now, I probably should have just done another build, probably. But hey ho, that's how it goes, isn't it? And I personally think with a table saw, you're not going to get the sort of accuracy you're looking for unless you have like a kind of I wouldn't say industrial one, but you know, kind of heading more towards that spec. You know, something that you would see in like a professional, you know, professional cabinet maker shop, or like a, you know, a factory setting. You know, a proper machine shop, if you like. Me personally, I mean, obviously I believe those track saws are quite accurate. Same again, I've never used a Festool track saw, but apparently they're very, very accurate. So, you know, I'm not even sure the price of one of those. Is it like £300-400 maybe? I'm not sure. But, you know, in order for you to get, you know, really good accuracy with things like that, you're going to have to spend a lot of money. You know, and with the tools I had, I just felt I wasn't getting the accuracy that I'm getting with my hand tools at the moment. So that's just my thoughts on it. I'm sure there's people out there that's got like top-notch machines, and they would argue all day with us, or it's just my experience. So with hand tools, I feel you've got more ability to adapt a piece while you're working. So I've talked about this before, but with me, I tend when I design, I kind of design in my head, and a lot of the time if I've got a rough idea in my head, I'll build it on the fly, if you like. So as I'm building, I'll often alter things. Although lately, the last couple of weeks, I have been messing around with SketchUp, so I've been trying to like kind of get plans and then make it. That's a bit of a funny one, but to be honest with you, I can actually see myself using SketchUp more and more for things like that. But as I said, I'll often build things on the fly, so I think with hand tools, the ability to actually change things on a whim trumps machines any day of the week, and that's just my personal opinion. I really believe that. Obviously, because you're building components one at a time. You're not mass producing components. Even if you're building one piece. Going back to the example with the 20 rails, you're not going to do 20 rails all together. You're probably just going to do them as you need them if you're ripping them by hand. Is what I try to do now. If I'm ripping things by hand, I try to give myself like a break, so I'll only rip what I need like at that time, if that makes sense. So I'm giving myself a break. I'm not tiring myself out completely. If I need to do the 20 reels like all at once, I don't think I would need to, but if I did need to, I would have to take multiple breaks to do that. And obviously, that's where machines shine with things like that. Obviously, I can't deny that. So that's definitely one thing. I think with machines as well, if you're kind of building like this, I think sometimes it can be a bit of a faff on, because obviously you've got to set that machine up again, or you've got to set it up differently. Some machines you can set up like really quickly, and some might take a little bit of time. You might have to drag jigs out and set the jig up, and then get the jig all in place and set fences up and whatever else. Whereas I think a lot of the time, if you do change something on a whim, you can basically be done and dusted with hand tools, and have it changed by the time you get the machine set up, if you have to drag jigs out and get the jigs set up and so on and so forth. But again, obviously with a machine, once you've done it once, you can do it again and again and again. So that's where a machine would shine for me anyway. And obviously everybody else, I'm pretty sure you would all agree that do use machines. That's one of the great things about them. So sharpening, it's for me anyway. I think I've been sharpening freehand for quite some time now. I don't know how long I've been sharpening freehand. I've never ever been a fan of using jigs or honing guides. Don't get us wrong, I've tried them in the past. They've just never agreed with us. So I've been freehand sharpening for some time now. So I wouldn't say I've got it down to a T, but I've got it to the point where I can sharpen like a plain blade. Bearing in mind that this is a hardened plain blade, and I can have it back in me plane and be away planing again and say 10 minutes, maybe a little bit less, and that's from like dull to razor sharp plane setup, and I'm going again, which I personally think is quite quick. Obviously it's the same with a saw as well. I mean maybe 30-40 minutes to sharpen and reset a saw, maybe. That's a Western saw, by the way. I don't even think I'd attempt a Japanese saw. Not at the moment. I might delve into that sometime in the future. Obviously, I wouldn't delve into the really fine cutting saws. That's I think that's just mental suicide. I think that's an art form in itself. I personally think, to sharpen a saw, and obviously if you go into the Japanese side of it, some of those guys must be like extremely skillful to do it. But going back to the saw, it's going to take, like I said, like 30-40 minutes. There's probably a lot of people that can do it a lot quicker than that. I'm just guessing, to be honest. It could be a little bit quicker. I might be able to do it. I don't really time myself for these sort of things, but just to give you a ballpark kind of time, I think that's roughly what I could get it done with. I mean, it's the same with chisels. What I've been doing a lot lately is just not honing my chisels. Just buffing them up on the leather strop. With, obviously, it's got the compound on it. When it starts to feel like it's getting a little bit dull. If I'm cutting dovetails, I'm removing the shoulder material. I might go through one shoulder and it's not feeling great, and I'll just quickly take it through, maybe about anywhere from 30 to 50 passes. And it brings the edge up again. So if you're gonna pass a chisel like over the leather strop 50 times either side, it's literally going to take you minutes. Like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, if that, and then you're good to go again. So I'll give you a few examples here, and my point is, if you are going to do this with power tools, it's going to take you a lot longer to sharpen them. Obviously, if you sharpen them at home, your table saw, it's going to take you a lot longer to sharpen the blade on your table saw. There's, even if you have got, the jigs and whatever else, the jigs and the machines to do this. I think, to be honest, it's been a long time since I've actually researched this, so the machines might actually be quite good and quite quick now. But I mean, if you were to do it by hand, I think it would take you a very long time. Obviously, you've got to remove the blade from the machine. You've got to take basically get into it. So you've got the time for that. You've got to get it out. You've got to give it a clean. Get all the plinth off it. Is that the right word? Plinth? No, I can't actually remember what you call that now, to be honest. Basically, all the sawdust that builds up like behind the back of the teeth. Is it plinth? I can't quite remember the name of that now. When it builds, I'm sure everyone knows what I'm talking about. That uses like a table saw. That's got to come off. So you've got to clean that off, get that off. So that's not really a quick process, is it? Really. You've kind of got the likes of like planers as well. So same again. You've got to get the blades out, which isn't. I don't think it's like I don't think it takes you a great deal of time, but obviously it is a little bit time consuming to get the blades out, and then to sharpen the blades. I think with the planers, and obviously the same with the thickness planers, I think there's quite a few of them where you can just buy disposable ones, disposable blades and stuff. So depending on what you're doing, depending on how much you're using it as well, it could be expensive, and you're going to have to wait. You're going to have to like basically send off for something and wait for it to come. So you could be waiting, depending on what service you get and where you are in the world. You could be waiting for a day, a couple of days to a week type of thing. So with respect to sharpening, I still think that you can't beat using hand tools in that respect. I think that's pretty much all I'm going to go over today, because I feel as though I'm rambling as I normally do. But as I said, I'm not against power tools, I'm really not, and I think, to be honest, I'll probably be purchasing some sometime in the future. I'm going to have to change my name though, aren't I? I can't really call myself Unplugged Woodworking anymore. What do you think I should call myself? A bit of both? A bit of both woodworking? Doesn't really have a ring to it. Neil had his Unplugged Woodworking, to be honest, but yeah, I'd have to change my name and everything. Maybe DW Woodworking or something, I don't know, but I'd probably have to change it, so yeah. Any questions, comments, whatever, leave them on my social media. There'll be a link to that. While I remember as well, I don't know if people are I'm pretty sure not everyone's going to know, but this podcast is actually available across multiple platforms. It's obviously on YouTube, it's on Apple, it's on Amazon, Speaker. It's on so many platforms. I've got it posted everywhere. Just Spotify's another one. I think this was more for the guys that are listening to this on YouTube. Obviously, you don't have to listen to it on YouTube because it's just a blank screen on YouTube. You're just going to be looking at like a black screen basically. So. Just for those that aren't aware, obviously I do post this in other places. As I always do, there'll be a Linktree link. Click on that link and it'll take you to everything. It'll take you to the blog. It'll take you to the podcast. You know what I mean? I think the link for the podcast will take you to Google Podcasts. But obviously, as I said, this is on Spotify and everything. I just thought I'd let people know, basically. As I said, any questions, leave a comment on my social media. I'd like to say a thank you to everyone that's been following us on YouTube lately and taking the time to comment, obviously commenting on my Instagram and everything like that. For all the people that have sent us messages, it's nice to have a conversation with you. It's nice to answer questions if you need them answered. So a big thank you to everyone that's taking the time out of the day to watch me videos and comment on stuff. I really appreciate it. So until the next time, guys, I'll speak to you later.